Koi watched from the hostel window as 3 girls were dropped off. Each of them stepped out from the front seat of a different car, where a man stood waiting to open the door for them. After exiting, they were embraced by the men, who placed kisses on their foreheads. Moments later, the girls were outside the fence of the cemetery. Without hesitation, they climbed the fence, jumped inside, and headed straight to their hostel. The next day was Saturday, the designated day for students to visit the school salon to get their hair done. The salon was a large space with multiple stylists, all bustling with activity. However, there was an unspoken rule. Before anyone else could enter, the 3 queens, Sandra, Jennifer, and Mona Lisa, always had their hair done first. They paid extra money to ensure the stylists focused solely on B's hair, making everyone else wait. No student dared to complain. It was simply how things worked. Only after the queens finished could the other girls get their turn. Koi, however, came from a disadvantaged background. Despite attending the prestigious St. Georgas boarding school, an elite all-girls institution, it was only possible because of the scholarship she received. She and her friend Guy were the only 2 students awarded Madame Margaret's esteemed scholarship, giving them this rare opportunity. Life at St. Georgas wasn't easy for Koi and Guy. Grooming standards were high, and additional expenses quickly piled up. Unlike the queens, they couldn't afford the luxury of the school salon. Instead, Koi and Guy made do with simple weaving styles they did for each other. Their modest allowances barely covered the basics, but they managed. After finishing their hair, Koi and Guy quietly left the salon's lobby and returned to their hostel. They settled into their corner, trying to ignore the stares and whispers. But Sandra, Jennifer, and Mona Lisa could hardly contain their laughter. "Just look at them," Sandra sneered. "Ugly monkeys. They don't even realize that beauty equals money." The insult hung in the air, sparking laughter from a few other students nearby. Koi and Guy exchanged looks but remained silent. At the far side of the dormitory, Sandra and her friends lounged in their section, where their bedding was the finest in all of St. Georgas. Their corners were beautifully adorned with flowers while they sat there at their corner with legs crossed. In front of them lay packs of milky popcorn accompanied by some smoothies. Koi and Guy hurriedly walked past them, but just as they went by, KY tripped and fell, accidentally spilling their smoothie. "I'm sorry," she said softly as she stood before them, shaking. "You poor thing," Mona Lisa replied. "Have you ever seen a smoothie all your life? You will have to pay for it, and this is 10,000 naira. Koi gasped in surprise. "I can't afford that much," she replied. "If you know you can't pay for it, then you should be careful where you walk." After apologizing before, she allowed Koi to go. The next day in class, as Koi was reading her book, Mona Lisa approached her and initiated a conversation. "You are studying hard, aren't you?" she started. "Yes, of course," Koi answered. "Well, we have a party next week, and if you come along with us, we will accept you as one of us. Most girls are looking for this chance to belong, but I felt drawn to you out of pity." Koi looked at her, shocked, and questioned, "Party? Where are you?" The only girl at St. Georgas who doesn't know that the 3 partying princesses always have their party on Saturdays. Regardless of school rules, our parents are influential, as you know, and here at St. Georgas we set our own rules. Even the chief security officer is at our service. Koi nodded understandingly. She had always admired the trio. They were stunning, and their parents were wealthy too. "Okay," she responded, her voice slightly quivering. That night, Mona Lisa sent someone to deliver some grilled catfish and smoothie to her corner. Koi happily ate it, exclaiming, "So this is what this girl is used to enjoying," as she licked her fingers after the meal. Mona Lisa's father is a politician, while both Sandra's and Jennifer's fathers are honorable members of the House of Representatives. That memorable Saturday night marked the first time Koi attended their party, and as she got ready for the girls' night out, her friend caught up with her after her visit to the salon. "Koi, you now get your hair done at the school salon?" he asked. "I thought we agreed to be making each other's hair," I continued. "Yes, that was before," Bishy said persuasively. "Levels have changed, including the previous agreement. Don't you think becoming friends with these girls is risky? It might get you into trouble. Trouble? Asked Koi. I've been in this school for more than a year now, and the three Ting princesses have never gotten into trouble. Do you think I'm not easing my head? KY continued. They are the who is who in this school and above the law. If I join them, I also will be above LW. She was left to herself. No one agreed to make her hair for her. As for COI, she now styles her hair, especially with the three PN princesses, for the first time since she entered St. Georgina's prestigious school. KY felt among. KY was a slim, tall, and brown-skinned girl. She soon fit in with the girls as they taught her how to catwalk, talk smoothly, and gesture with her body while speaking. You need to master these skills, especially knowing that you are joining us to go out for clubbing. The impression you give the men will determine how much gifts and money they will be willing to part with you. Finally, it was Saturday night. Jennifer, Sandra, and Mona Lisa were close to the school fence along with their new friend Koi. They went to the side of the fence with the shortest height and climbed on. Soon they were outside the school walls. Jennifer brought out her phone and made some calls. Soon, a very flashy car pulled over to where they stood. A very handsome young man came out of the car and gave Jennifer a hug. He kissed her on her forehead, saying, "See my baby? Oh, I've missed you so much." Then he opened the front door for her while Mona Lisa, Sandra, and Koi sat in the back seat. He drove them straight to his house. The mansion was a sight to behold, with its grand entrance, manicured gardens, and a swimming pool that sparkled under the moon. The interior was just as impressive, with modern decor, state-of-the-art amenities, and a spacious living area that could easily accommodate a small party. As they stepped into the room, Koi whispered quietly under her breath, as she struggled to control her breathing in response to the opulent wealth that surrounded her. The gentle melody from the DJ paired with the flashing disco lights left Koi in amazement. Once the girls arrived, both Sandra and Mona Lisa went directly to embrace their respective boyfriends, while Koi stood in the living room feeling awkward as she observed the girls. This was precisely the warning her mother had given her about the scholarship. Steer clear of men and focus on her studies, as they could only serve as a distraction. She glanced at the three girls as they shared passionate and fearless kisses with their boyfriends. "Come on, girl," Mona Lisa urged playfully. "Life is not just about books. You need to have fun and enjoy." Koi remained silent as she observed how effortlessly the girls threw themselves at the men. As she reflected on the freedom the girls exhibited while kissing the men, she recalled her mother's advice to keep men at a distance in order to be of value to herself. These girls had never experienced pregnancy despite being open with men. As she contemplated this, a man approached her. He was tall and handsome, and his presence was noticeable. "Hey, fine angel. How are you doing? Can I keep you company?" KY's heart raced. "I'm fine, sir, thank you," she answered. He settled down beside her and introduced himself. "My name is A," he said with a warm smile. "May I know your name?" "My name is Koi," Koi responded. "I like you. You look very beautiful, like an angel," I continued. Soon, the other three girls arrived with glasses of whiskey in their hands. "Hey, Koi," they greeted. "Hope you're catching on. You didn't take your drink. Holy girl, you have to learn how to be a big girl now." Before leaving, the girls received gifts from their boyfriends, including clothes, money, and gadgets. Soon after, the girls jumped over the school fence and entered their hostel. Koi was also given a new iPhone by Kay. "Take this phone, my angel, and also this. Don't hesitate to call me whenever you need me." KY felt thrilled. She had never owned an Android phone before, and now she had an iPhone. She had indeed become one of the happening girls of their school. KY continued to call Mr. K daily. When the other girls were out of the hostel, the three partying princesses would put on their gadgets and begin calling their boyfriends. Koi also called Mr. Ken, who would praise her and call her sweet names. Koi was genuinely happy to belong. She was now part of the happening crowd on campus and had left E&I behind. During their next outing, they were at the same venue with their different boyfriends. Each girl entered different rooms with her boyfriend, leaving Koi with Mr. Ken. When Mr. K leaned in to touch Koi, she protested, saying, "I can't do this. My mother warned me against it." "Then why are you here?" Mr. K replied angrily as he shoved her aside. When her friends returned, Mr. K spoke with them, declaring, "Bring me a girl that knows what's up. I don't need these local girls wasting my time." Later that day, as the girls were in their hostel, they told Koi, "Look at how you've missed your opportunity to become a big girl. Why are you so childish?" Your mother said, "Does it look like we don't have mothers? Is your mother here with you in school?" "But what if I get pregnant?" Koi asked. "There's nothing like that, and besides, we have drugs that can easily flush away that pregnancy." Ultimately, KY decided she wanted to be a big girl after all. Mr. K had even promised to marry her after high school. Koi recklessly threw herself at Mr. K. Every Saturday, she would meet him at their usual spot, and they'd eat and drink with their boyfriends, also sleeping together before returning to the hostel. Soon, it became normal for Koi to abort her pregnancies every time she became pregnant. As months passed, Koi became entirely distracted from her studies, dropping from the top of her class to poor grades. She constantly felt weak in her body. She constantly feels on the verge of fainting most of the time. On one of the weekends when they had snuck out, as usual, they danced, ate, and drank just like they always did. After Koi returned, she discovered that her period had not come for several weeks. She tested herself with the pregnancy kit they had in the hostel, and the result was positive. She went directly to take the abortion pills she had always used, hoping the pregnancy would flush out as it usually did. However, to her immense surprise, the pregnancy remained. Today she took even more of the pills, yet nothing occurred. KY found herself in a predicament, unsure of what to do. She hastily informed her friends Sandra, Jennifer, and Mona Lisa, but they too were unable to assist her. They questioned why her situation was always different, asserting they had consistently managed their issues since they began their lives on the streets, and she had only joined them 6 months ago, putting them at risk. After saying this to her, they ceased visiting, avoiding her as if she were contagious. Her stomach was beginning to protrude, now that her pregnancy had extended past 3 months. One Saturday night, KY was at Mr. Ken's place, having gone out on her own since a month ago. After learning that Koi was pregnant, Mr. Kell had stopped answering her calls. She went to visit him at the location she had always known to be his house. Upon knocking at the gate, she was fully prepared to confront him. To her great astonishment, a very beautiful and elegantly dressed woman opened the gate. "I'm looking for M," Koi said, her heart racing. "Oh, he drove my husband out," replied Madame Lorita. "Can I wait for him?" she asked. "And who are you?" Madame Lorita inquired. "I'm his girlfriend," Koi responded. Madame Lorita let out a laugh, then clapped her hands together and asked, "His girlfriend or one of his girlfriends?" Koi was bewildered, her heart racing even faster. "I can't go back, ma'am. I'm pregnant with his child." "Pray, what for? A married man whose wife and children are in the village?" Madame Lorita reacted. "But Mr. Ken has always claimed that this is his house," Koi stated, while both her hands and legs continued to shake. "Young lady, listen very carefully. Madame Lorita stated that Ina is our driver and that we just returned from a 6-month vacation, which is why he started messing around with women, asserting that this place is his house apart from his wife and kids who are in the village. You are the 3rd woman who has appeared here to say that you are pregnant by him." KY was astounded. She sat on the floor and placed her hands on her head as she cried, sobbed, and wailed. "Stop, my dear. Do you have a mother?" Madame Lorita inquired. "Yes," Koi answered. "If you know what is good for you, go back to your mother," Madame Lorita advised. Hai was left all alone, her mother's advice staring her in the face. She was unsure of what to do, whether to return to her mother in the village or go back to the hostel. She could not think, but all she remembered was that the money she had was insufficient to travel back to the village. Even if she had enough money, could she confront her mother after disregarding her advice? She ultimately decided to return to the hostel and seek a solution. Upon arriving at the hostel, she reflected on her situation. Climbing through the school fence as usual, Koi lay down on her bed and thought about many things. If the school authorities found out that she was pregnant, they would expel her in a disgraceful manner, but facing her mother was something she could not do. That night, she went to Mona Lisa's corner, kneeling down to plead with her. She begged her to take her to an abortionist. Mona Lisa initially refused, but because of the way Koi cried and begged, Mona Lisa agreed to help. The next Saturday night, both of them climbed the school fence as usual. Outside the school premises, they went to a quack doctor who performed abortions using sharp instruments to pull the fetus out. "Your pregnancy is now 4 months," the quack doctor said. "This process is very risky and is even riskier at this stage," he continued. The two girls pleaded with the doctor, and after much persuasion, the quack doctor decided to perform the abortion. Before daybreak, the abortion had been concluded, and the two girls returned to the hostel. Just as they were about to enter through the hostel's connecting gate, Koi collapsed outside the hostel, bleeding. Previously, some students who saw her raised an alarm. The school authorities were alerted, and they quickly came over and rushed Koi to the hospital. There at the hospital, Koi's parents were alerted. The doctors tried their best to save Koi's life, carrying out multiple surgeries on her bleeding womb, but it was too late. He died on the operating table after losing a lot of blood. This story teaches young girls to calm down and focus on their studies. Listen to your mother's advice as a young girl and avoid bad friends who encourage you to disregard the good advice you have received from your parents. If by any means you fall short, do not hesitate to return to your parents. It is better for your parents to see you for a moment than for you to seek solutions on your own that could cost your life. If you love the story, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and kindly subscribe as we load you with many amazing tales at Brave Stories 24/7.